Good morning. This morning I'm going to plant my main crop potatoes in this raised bed using the square foot method. Now, what I did over winter is added green manure, and about a month ago I cut the green manure down, turned it over into the ground, and then because it kept getting dry, we didn't have too much rain, I then covered it with a membrane and watered it on occasions to keep it moist. This morning I uncovered this bed and using a bulb cutter, here we are, here I've got a bulb planter I should say, which is 6 inches or 15 centimetres deep. I cut these planting holes. So all I did, if I can do it one-handed, is place this into the middle of the 1 foot square and dug down and then lifted it out, leaving a planting hole approximately 6 inches deep. Now obviously some of the earth has fallen back in, so I'm going to use a dibber just to make the hole slightly deeper, ready to put some compost. Here is my dibber that I made for the purpose, just out of a piece of old wood, and I'm just going to go round and just push another inch or so to make room for the compost. So I'm going to go round and tidy up these holes. Now I've been round and just finished using the dibber, so my holes are ready. The next stage is to put a handful or a sprinkling first of fertiliser in the bottom of the hole, and then a good handful of compost. Right, now I'm just going to go around and sprinkle some little bit of fertiliser into the bottom of each hole. And I'll come back when I've finished. So the next stage is to drop a handful of compost into each planting hole, sufficient for the potato to sit on. That one. So I'll carry on going round and I'll be back when I've finished. Right, these are my Desiree main crop potatoes that have been chitting in the greenhouse. I've got 55 potatoes, so I've made 55 holes, and I'll now go and start to plant them in the bed. Right, so the potatoes are here ready to place in the ground. Now make sure that you plant them with the eyes facing upwards. There's none that side, and there's the eyes. So we go, just push it in gently so it sits. Same in this one. Again, so it's sitting in the hole nicely. And I'm going to go around and plant my 55 Desiree potatoes. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, now all my potatoes are in their planting holes, all 55 of them. So I'm now going to add a handful of compost on the top, followed by a sprinkling of fertiliser. So here we go again. So I'll just cover the potato. Morning. I'll finish those off and I'll be back in. Right, the compost has been added to each planting hole, and now finally, for the moment, I'm going to go around and just sprinkle some general fertiliser on the top. Right, see you in a few seconds. Using the rake, I'm just going to very lightly earth them up, only about an inch or so at the moment. So I'll do that just by pulling the so just a very slight ridge, about 2 inches. I'll see when I've finished. I've now earthed up the potatoes, only about a couple of inches, so at least we can actually see where they've been planted. So let's just have a recap. 1, in the autumn I sowed some green manure, the type that will overwinter, and I left that until about a month or so ago. I then cut it down and turned the green manure over. So I just dug it over, that's it. Because the weather was dry, I was worried that it was going to dry like rocks. So what I did, I then covered it with my own compost. So I gave it a layer of compost on the top. Finally, I put a membrane over that so the rain could get through the membrane into the earth, and left that covered until today, where I removed it ready to plant potatoes. I used a bulb cutter to cut a hole in the ground 6 inches deep as my planting hole. Once that was done, I then used a homemade dibber, which is about 8 to 10 inches long, just to make sure that the hole was cleared. So I must have had a hole about 6 to 8 inches. I then added a sprinkling of general purpose fertiliser to the bottom of the hole, then a good handful of compost. I then placed the potato in the hole with the shooting chits facing upwards. Once that was done, I then put another handful of compost on the top to cover the potatoes. Finally, I sprinkled a little bit more general purpose fertiliser and just made a slight ridge over the top of the planting holes. And finally, I'll just give them a water in. So I'll just water the ridges where I know that the potatoes have been planted. I hope you found this little video useful. I will see you again. Bye for now.